we are going to transition over to the Philadelphia Phillies. The big acquisition, of course, Trea Turner. And I think we already said it in the last block. We both kind of like the over here, 88.5. The NL East at plus 375 to win the division, to win the pennant, plus 850, 17-1 to win the World Series. A rotation led by Aaron Nola, Zack Wheeler bringing in Taijuan Walker, former Met there. But a loaded lineup, top heavy for sure. And a really nice run from the Phillies, powerhouse Bryce Harper there. I don't know if you have anything for Bryce Harper. I've seen conflicting reports, could come back in May, not sure. As we transition over just some of the players and the ADP there, Quan, we do have Bryce Harper on average over the last 6 weeks going as pick 178. We'll maybe touch on him in just a second. I got to ask you about Trea Turner. So pick 3. I don't know if you remember a year like this, Matt. You've been doing it for a lot longer than me, but NFBC, the min pick, man, you can make a case for 6 or 7 guys here. Ronald Acuna Jr. Over the last 5 weeks, Acuna Jr. has gone a min pick of 1. Judge 1. Turner 1. Jose Ramirez 1. Julio Rodriguez 1. Shohei Ohtani 1. Kyle Tucker 2. And Yordan Alvarez 2. But 2 months ago, Yordan Alvarez, I saw him go as 1 as well. I think maybe the hand contusion. There's a big disparity now between the min and the max for him at 24. The max for Acuna Jr. at 8. Judge 8. Turner 9. Ramirez 8. Rodriguez 9. That's a little crazy. But if you had first overall pick, who would you take? And it's got to be pretty tough, because for me, I would battle with my head with a few of those guys.
It's definitely a tough situation. There's been a top 6 that's formed, maybe even top 7 if you want to include Ohtani. But for me, it's going to come down to either Ronald Acuna or the kid from Seattle. Just
Julio. I'm with you. Those are the 2 for me as well. Absolutely.
Julio, he's just, I don't see. I think he's going to run. I know people said he didn't really run in the second half. He's going to run. I'm not worried about that. Those are the 2. By the numbers, though, it's really Aaron Judge. I don't think Judge is going to steal 16 bases again this year. I don't think he's going to hit 62 homers again this year. Probably hit 40-something and still be a beast. Give you a really good average and all those numbers. But for me, it's those 2, and it is a preference, because I see Turner go 1 a lot as well.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, going to come at you with some speed, and I agree with what you said. I mean, the 2 guys for me are Julio Rodriguez and Ronald Acuna Jr., but I mean, nothing against anybody who wants to take Judge and the power that he has, and Trea Turner on top of the order. The plate appearances that he's going to get, a little bit of power and some speed there from him. Even still at his age, he's still swiping bags, and I think Jose Ramirez is kind of that one that, I don't know if he gets disrespected, but, the third base position, to have a guy who can do touch a lot of categories for you there, as well as Kyle Tucker. So there's a lot of different avenues that you could go. I'm not sure you can go wrong with any of those picks. JT Realmuto. I know in high stakes leagues, NFBC, you have to roster 2 catchers. How do you go about that strategy? And would you spend a top 25 pick on Realmuto?
I think I've only done it once. I've been more of the wait on catcher guy in the past. I am trying to get the one good catcher in the first, 10 rounds, maybe first 8 rounds. I think Realmuto is going to have some competition this year with Varsho. He's not going to have to play catcher, and he's going to get stolen bases as well, and his defense will keep him in the lineup. I know he has some issues against lefties. But, as far as Realmuto goes, he's just a stud. It's a solid pick. You're going to get, anywhere from 12 to 15, maybe even more stolen bases with home runs and average. So, you can't go wrong with it. It's probably not how I'm going to build, because I want the elite production guy, and I want that one stud starting pitcher in the first 2 rounds. On most occasions, every draft is different, but that's my basic philosophy for this year.
I can't do it myself personally. I know if people are playing in head-to-head formats, it's different, but high stakes, you got to roster 2 catchers. I'm with you. I like to get 1 top 10, maybe 1 top 12, and then just kind of wait towards the end of my drafts and, pick maybe a second and a third and, around, I don't know, between rounds 18 and 22 or 23 or something like that personally. But just to give you an idea of players that are going in around JT Realmuto, you mentioned Austin Riley, Rafael Devers, Paul Goldschmidt, Michael Harris, second, Sandy Alcantara, Nolan Arenado, Jose Altuve is the first second baseman off the board, Spencer Strider, Lindor, Semien. There's some like really, I mean, even just before that, like Corbin Burns, Pete Alonso, Mike Trout, Garrett Cole. So there's a lot of really good players. And it's not a knock on JT Realmuto. I mean, the guy, as you mentioned, is an absolute stud. It just seems to be a little bit rich for me to spend, a third round pick on him. Who really jumps out here? I mean, there's a lot of nice pieces. I guess we can go to Harper. Like, how far does Harper have to fall, or do you just bypass a guy like Harper who maybe a setback happens, maybe you're without him for a couple months, who really knows? Like, how far does he have to fall before you pull the trigger on Bryce?
I think I have one or two shares. In the DC, it's tough to roster an injured guy that's going to be out for 2-3 months. I think with this ADP you have up, that's like the 12th round in a 15-teamer. That's too rich for me. It would have to be like that 15 to 17 range for me to be interested at this point in time, unless something, unless some new news develops where he'll be ready in May. Because, I mean, right. It's a lot to ask. There's a lot of players that you're drafting right now that you're drafting for 6 months. Obviously, it's Bryce Harper. So, I mean, I do get the allure.
Absolutely. Right. A fantastic season from last year. And just under the bright lights, he was great, man, in the postseason. He really was. Okay. You see a lot of names here. Who's your favorite one or two that you like?
I mean, Aaron Nola, I love for the, it's 200 innings, it's 200 strikeouts. Last year was the first year I was off of Nola. He's always been a favorite of mine, and I got burned by that, and I am back in. I just think Woody's going to give you the consistency. So give me that. I'll give you my fade here on this list. It's Rhys Hoskins. I haven't touched him all draft season. He's not one of the first. There's really 3 first basemen that I'm looking at. They go around his range a little later after him. And the one guy that used to be up north by you, Rowdy Tellez, is someone I draft basically every draft. I am not diversifying. I am not diversifying at all for him. But, I would take Christian Walker. I would take Ryan Mountcastle over Hoskins. So he's not a target of mine.
Hoskins is a weird one for me to figure out. I know when he broke onto the scene, he was a guy that just like he smashed righties. I think it was like 2017. He smashed righties, and he also hit righties well in 2018. And then all of a sudden he had the season in 2019 where he hit lefties well. Last year, the 286 average against lefties, and it just didn't hit righties well. I agree. I don't actually have any shares of Hoskins just yet. I'm with you on Nola. I think Wheeler's another guy that can flirt with, maybe not 200 strikeouts, but 170 plus. He's been fantastic over the past couple of years. And how about Alec Baum? And this guy kind of came out of nowhere right around the time where he was like, you know what? I hate it here. I hate Philadelphia. I hate this place. Do you believe in him as a player?
You know what? I think for who he is right now, I mean, look, I think he has 3 homers in spring training. If he ever gets the lift on the ball, then he could really be a home run pick where he's going. I don't have any. It's not that I don't like him, but in that 12th round range, I'm either grabbing a pitcher in most cases, a second baseman with speed, or if he's there, I smash Danny Jansen's every time. He's nice. One of my faves too. But I totally get it. He's a guy, like I said, if he can get the ball in the air more and over the fence, he could really be a home run pick.
I mean, as you mentioned, the ground ball rate is 49% for his career. I know the first 2 years were 50% for the career as well. Brendan Marsh may be a sneaky guy too. I think in those deeper formats, somebody going to hit in the 9 spot, maybe get you a little bit of speed, not a ton of power, but his defense is good enough to keep him in the lineup almost every single day. And who knows who's going to be the closer at the end of the day in Philadelphia. I think Sir Anthony for now.
I would lean Sir Anthony, but like you say, they got like 4 different options. I mean, if it was me, I would probably give him the run first. I think all good teams, I don't really buy that, it's the manager. He never wants to, have a set closer. If they have somebody that can get the job done, they will ride that guy. But like Gabe Kapler has that connotation to his name. He hasn't had really good closers. Every time he's trying, everybody blows up on him.
Good point.
Duvall last year got the job done, and they basically rode him. But prior to that, when he was in Philadelphia or in San Francisco, he hasn't had that one guy. The Phillies don't have that one guy right now. I give the edge to Sir Anthony, but they made the trade with the Tigers. They signed Kimbrel, so we'll see how that plays out. But that would be my bet. If I had a bet on one, it would be Sir Anthony.
Yeah, and pretty much free, right? Quote unquote. Like pick 288 there on average.
Yeah, but it's still not a free. It's still there's still cost. I mean, you're still giving up somebody like say a Steven Matz or an Aaron Savale's there. That's a back end starter that's got upside that you're passing on there. So it's tough. It really is tough to spec, and that's the argument for the Edwin Diaz, the Clases.
Yeah,
you don't really got to worry about that, and you got at least that one guy that's giving you 35 or more saves with great ratios.
I know it may not feel for people that are just getting into it for I know there's been a few people on this show that have told me getting away from just their drafts with their buddies and they want to kind of get their feet wet with high stakes drafts. They feel a little uneasy taking that closer, but I tell you what, it goes a long way. You get more balance of a team and you're not going to be able to, it's all about winning. You're not going to be able to be successful if you punt that position. You got to have a top 10, I think.
If I can give any just a smidgen of advice here, if you're gonna before every draft, you should have a plan. I try and map out the pitching. Look, things are going to change. Players you didn't think were going to fall to you, but if you think you're going to go with that elite closer, map it out. If I take him in the second round, what am I doing in rounds 3, 4, 5? How's my team going to look after 5 rounds? And if you do that, you're not going to be like, oh my God, the guy I wanted in the third round's gone. What do I do now? So, having that plan and mapping it out really helps you.